All right. By the time I am recording this, it has been like 4 or 5 days since the announcement came out that Will Power is not only leaving Team Penske in a 12 car, but he is joining Andretti Global in the numbers 26, replacing Colton Herta as Colton Herta begins his journey on his road to Formula One. So Will Power is not returning to Team Penske after being there for 16 years from 2009 to 2025. And all I can say is what a career Power has had in Penske. Just what a legend. And if you ask me, and I'm not just saying this as a huge Will Power fan or one of the biggest Will Power fans on YouTube or the biggest fan on YouTube, but I think Will Power was the best driver Team Penske ever had, period. Not just IndyCar, but I feel like Penske in general. That might be a hot take to some, but that's just my opinion. And also being a bit biased as well. After racing in Champ Car from 2005 through 2008 Long Beach, which was also an IndyCar sanctioned race after the merge, Will Power won 3 races with Team Australia in Champ Car and got his first IndyCar win in Long Beach during Champ Car's final ever race. After Champ Car and the Indy Racing League merged into one once again after a 12-year split, Will Power raced for KV Racing in a number 8 with the Team Australia colors, and after the 2008 season, that was it. And from what I remember in Will Power's book, he did some interviews to get the job working for Team Penske. I think he was offered a job there, try to be Penske perfect in his interview. And after all that, Power did get hired to race for Team Penske. And I'm trying to see if I'm doing this in order right. Because I know Will Power made his IndyCar Penske debut in Helio Castroneves' number 3 car at St. Petersburg while Helio Castroneves was dealing with his tax evasion case. And Power finished in 6th. And after that, Team Penske built a 3rd IndyCar team for Will Power in the number 12. And that number 12 IndyCar team used to be the old Porsche Spyder DHL car from the American Le Mans series. And Verizon came along to sponsor him for some races, and Penske Truck Rentals sponsored Will Power for some races as well. And Will Power got his first win in Edmonton. Things were going well. And then unfortunately, Power suffered a really bad accident, which caused him the rest of the 2009 season. For the next 15 years, Will Power was full-time with Team Penske from 2010 through 2025, despite missing one race in 2016 due to a hard crash he had after qualifying, which he missed a race due to getting a concussion. Oriol Servia took over during that race. And all I can say is during those 15 years, he was just legendary, winning all these races, being a championship contender, winning 2 championships from 2014 to 2022. Hall of Fame status, if you ask me. Despite being a championship contender, winning 2 championships, at the same time, when it comes to championships, it's a what if for what could have been. Because from 2010 to 2011, he was going against Dario Franchitti. Unfortunately, Power lost those championships against Dario because of inconsistencies in other moments. And in 2012, he was going against Ryan Hunter-Reay for the championship. And same thing. He won 3 in a row early in the season. And then also Ryan Hunter-Reay was becoming consistent and Power was just not as consistent. He had a point lead coming into Auto Club, but unfortunately in Auto Club he wrecked out while battling against Ryan Hunter-Reay. They gave it a shot. He ran for 12 laps and then it was just over. Hunter-Reay won the title and Power was 3 points behind Hunter-Reay in that season. 2013, an unusual Will Power-like season. He was not a championship contender, but he was just winless throughout almost the entire season, but thankfully he did win 3 races during the final stretch of the season, which was pretty much a preview coming to 2014 if you ask me. And then in 2014, I attended my very first IndyCar race at St. Petersburg, and I got to see my favorite IndyCar driver ever winning that race in person. Such an experience to see my favorite driver in IndyCar winning my home race in person. And to this day, that's my only IndyCar race I attended in person. And then he was being consistent despite winning a couple more races. He's had some moments, cost him some races and points, but thankfully he held on and he finally got his first championship in IndyCar after 4 or 5 seasons, proving the haters wrong, proving the media wrong, saying that, hey, I can win this championship. And then from 2015 to 2016, I guess you could say he was mathematically in, especially 2015. He was part of the battle until Juan Pablo Montoya took him out at Sonoma. And he was just not much of a title contender that season, though. There were like 7 drivers going at it. Power was part of it, but it was just not meant to be. 2016, like I said, he missed the race. But he was going against Penske teammate Simon Pagenaud. Despite winning Pocono and other races, but I was just thinking Pocono on top of my head. He was just not as consistent like Texas, and then was in a crash at Watkins Glen and had issues at Sonoma. And from 2017 to 2018, same thing. He was mathematically in, but not really part of it. Won races and cheated death at Gateway 1 week after winning at Pocono. After that Gateway crash, title over. 2018, he won at Gateway and had some issues at Portland. An issue during the restart and lost it, went off track, and crashed out. He was like winning races, and he was also slowly learning how to get better on ovals and winning some oval races as well. Like I said, I brought up Pocono for 2017, which was a 500-mile race. And speaking of 500 miles, Will Power finally won the Indy 500 back in 2018, which is, as of the making of this video, his only Indy 500 win in his career. And from 2019 to 2021, those 3 seasons were just slumpy seasons. 3 years of un-Will Power-like seasons. He was not a title threat, but thankfully he won races between those 3 seasons. At least there was that. And to be honest, before 2022, 2019 to 2021, I thought the championship contending days were over for Will Power. Plus, he was like getting contract extended for Penske, and I was trying to mentally prepare myself to see if he was like retiring or not. But then in 2022, holy cow, he proved me wrong. Despite winning at Belle Isle, he had a really clean season. Not a DNF despite Devlin DeFrancesco getting to Will Power. And despite winning 1 race, Will Power was the most consistent driver of the season. And Will Power got his 2nd IndyCar championship and his final title with Penske. Things are looking up like, hey, he's still got it in him. Despite being in his early 40s, he can still contend for championships. But then 2023, the season actually hurts. Will Power had another, not only an unlike Will Power season, but a championship hangover. I don't know what went wrong, but he was just not contending a lot. There was like things happening. And unfortunately, he was just winless. For the first time in his IndyCar career, 2023 was a winless season for Will Power. And here's the thing. He could have won the downtown Detroit race. But unfortunately, because of how shit Detroit is, during one of the restarts, Scott Dixon got into Will Power. And it was over for Power. And then ironically, like, I guess the next race weekend, Scott Dixon crashed with Will Power, and Will Power pushed Scott Dixon. So talk about a 360 or 180. I don't know. I'm just rambling. Anyway, so after a winless 2023 season, honestly, a lot of people thought like, hey, not only his championship contending days are over, but he's not winning as much as he used to be. Oh, he's washed up. Oh, he should hang it up. But then in 2024, once again, Will Power was a championship contender. But then unfortunately, the Penske scandal with the push to pass happened. That cost him some points despite him not using push to passes. And then for the first time in 2 seasons, Will Power was back in victory lane at Road America. And he was going against Alex Palou for a championship. Here's the thing. Power was contending for race wins in 2024, but it's just like, not only Alex Palou was better than him, but like Scott Dixon beat him. Pato beat him at St. Pete. He was just a winning contender, but he just never closed the deal until Road America happened, the second Iowa race happened, and Portland happened. And speaking of during those races, during those parts of the season, while being a championship contender, things went wrong. Like, for example, Will Power and David Malukas were racing hard, and then Power got into Malukas. Malukas crashed, and then Power had his karma on a restart when Newgarden was checking out the field. And Power was part of that crash. And Power was mad at David Malukas after what went down. So unfortunately, the not so cool Will Power came back. And I forgot to mention he did wreck out the Indy 500 2024 as well. So that did hurt him in points. And then Power finished second to Pato at the first Milwaukee race. But then on the second Milwaukee race, Alex Palou had issues before the race started, and those are easy points gained for Power. And he could have gained more if it wasn't for the 10-point penalty at St. Petersburg. He had a very close chance to go against Alex Palou for the championship, but then unfortunately, in one of the restarts, Will Power spun in turn 4 and just crashed on the inside wall. And then also, his team told him to come into pit road before the next restart took place. So not only the crash cost him the championship, but the calls cost him the championship. And then in Nashville, he was still going against Alex Plow for a championship. All he needed was Alex Plow to not have a good day. But then unfortunately, his seatbelt got loose at Nashville, and it was just over. So despite being almost in the mid-40s, Will Power did show that he can still compete for a championship. He just didn't close the deal after 2022. And then we get to 2025. Just another year in Penske. But unfortunately, Will Power made a rookie mistake by getting to Nolan Siegel at St. Petersburg at the start of the race. So another DNF. And then for like the next few races, he was just finishing decently. Not as much of a strong start to the season like 2024. And then we get to day 2 of the 2025 Indy 500 qualifying. Team Penske of Joseph Newgarden and Will Power's team got caught cheating with the rear attenuator. And not only that, Newgarden's 2024 Indy 500 win was a cheating attenuated car. And honestly, this was when my dislike for Team Penske started. Another scandal, and they screwed up Newgarden and Power. Really unfortunate. After the scandal, like 3 of the biggest Penske guys, I think the strategists, they were fired, they were let go, and they had to get new ones. And Penske had to deal with like random stuff. They were un-Penske perfect throughout the rest of the season. Just a terrible season for Penske all around. Not only that, Will Power was continuously being angry and aggressive for no reason. Like, for example, during practice in Detroit, Kyle Kirkwood was being slow on Will Power, but then for some reason, Will Power was pushing Kyle Kirkwood for like 2 corners. And then mid-Ohio, Will Power was mad at Alex Palou because Palou was way ahead of the field during practice. I don't know. Look, even as a Will Power fan, I was embarrassed. I could not defend that shit. As a Will Power fan, I still have to deal with like people disliking Will Power on Discord. And it's rough, man. It's rough. It's embarrassing to see Power like this still. Because a couple of years ago, the cool Will Power was there. But then all of a sudden, he's just angry again at everything. So he was having a terrible season. Just a bunch of like mishaps, mistakes, and just running like shit. I'm just rambling at this point. The 2025 season was not a good season. He did win at Portland. First Penske driver to win an IndyCar race in 2025, which would be his final IndyCar win with Penske. And then for the final 2 races, he brushed the wall at Milwaukee after getting to Marvels and then spun after the yellow. And in Nashville, he was having such a great race. He was moving on up from 8th to 1st, showing that he still got it, regardless of how old he is. But then, unfortunately, Will Power came in too hard on pit road, and that cost him time. And then on the restart, he was slowing down. More issues happened, and ended his Penske stint in like 22nd, 2-3 laps down. And just like that, Will Power's time and Team Penske was over. So that is the best retrospective I can come up with unscripted and in my head. I know this might not be the best retrospective video ever for racing. I'm just talking like in my mind as a huge Will Power fan. And all I can say is that despite the mishaps and other problems, Will Power has shown how much of a talented driver he was on track in number 12. Not only on the racetrack on race day by being great at road and street courses, but learning to get better on ovals. But Will Power is the fastest IndyCar qualifier ever, the fastest IndyCar driver ever in terms of qualifying. And all of those poles were in Penske. So he's done a lot in his sport as a Penske driver. And all I can say is I can't believe that Power is going to be in the 26 for Andretti. And all I can say is that, how do I feel about this as a Will Power fan? I would have felt sad or something like that, something similar, if it wasn't for the scandals and also screwing up Power's final IndyCar season with Penske. Because of that, it's a mixed bag. Like, as a Power fan, he's done a lot for Penske. He's done a lot in the sport as a Penske driver. It's going to be hard to get used to seeing him not in a Penske driver since David Malukas is going to replace him in number 12. David Malukas has big shoes to fill, by the way. But at the same time, I'm glad he's out of Penske as well. That way, Power doesn't have to deal with Penske's bullshit, future scandals and other future stupidity that I have to deal with as a Power fan, and Power had to deal with as a Penske driver. So at least there's that. No more bullshit. No more Penske bullshit. At least there's that. However, unfortunately, as a Power fan, I gotta deal with the number 26 pit crew fuckery. Colton Herta fans, how do you guys deal with this shit? Tell me in the comments below, because I am not mentally ready to deal with the number 26 pit crew fuckery. I'm not ready to deal with that. I'm not ready. Tell me in the comments below. How do I deal with it? How do I deal with it? Please. I'm not ready for that. But on the bright side, Will Power is teammates with my other favorite IndyCar driver, Kyle Kirkwood. Kirkwood really had a good season, 3 wins. Unfortunately, fell off late in the season, but Andretti has shown that they can win races and mathematically be in championship, or be in the championship when things go right. They're really amazing at street courses, so at least I got that to look forward to as a Kirkwood and Power fan. So I'm really excited for that. I'm really hoping things go well during Power's final years in IndyCar. Power says he does want to race for 3 more years, but depends his contract. Nobody knows what his contract is. Is it a 1 plus 1 optional year or 2 years plus 1 optional year? Who knows? Because we do have future drivers on the market, like Dennis Hauger, for example. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. It's been a journey, and I can't wait to see how Power does. Hopefully everything goes well during his final years. So whether you're a Will Power fan like me, whether you dislike Will Power, tell me in the comments below about Will Power's time in IndyCar. Do you have a favorite moment from Will Power, favorite Power win, favorite anything about Will Power and Penske related? Let me know in the comments below. Not really the best video I've made in terms of like speaking, but hey, I really want to get something out about this since I am the biggest Will Power fan on YouTube. So yeah, that's gonna do it for another video. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention while working on this video. The reason why I used to call Will Power the GOAT, nowadays I call Will Power my GOAT. But the reason is that because back in late 2019 when I had Instagram, when we were going to the 2020 year, Will Power posted a post of his 2010 stats, and he was leading a bunch of stats like race wins, qualifying poles, 500-mile wins. And that's why at the time I was like, oh, Will Power's the GOAT. But then over the years, I just made it from Will Power the GOAT to Will Power my GOAT, because Will Power is my favorite driver ever in IndyCar, and he is my greatest of all time. But meanwhile, as for the sport in general, he is a legend. He is one of the GOATs alongside with Scott Dixon, AJ Foyt, Mario Andretti. Alex Plow's getting up there too. So I never had a chance to explain that at the time when I was on my Will Power's the GOAT phase. I know this was probably not needed, but I thought I would just add this here since this is another Will Power video. So yeah, with that being said, for real this time, thank you guys so much for watching. My name's Ian, and I talk about racing. Goodbye, everybody.